It is Thursday, May 12th, 2022. I probably had 500 people comment on Gigi last time. So everybody wanted to see her. She wanted to come out and say hi to everybody. Say hi. So here's Gigi, enjoying the sun. There we go. Oh, you're a good girl. All right, so everybody wanted me to bring Gigi back on the show, so there you go. But we got a lot to talk about today. It's very, very serious. Not a lot of good news out there. If you're afraid of negativity, if you're afraid of bad news, if you're afraid of real life, you probably want to turn the channel because we got a lot to talk about today, and it is not pretty. Before I get into this video today, I'm going to add a little bit of the Alabama trip at the end of this video. People have been asking me to see some clips of Alabama, so I'll put in some of the farms and land and some of the beach clips that I shot at the end of this video if you're interested. So stick to the end, and I'll make sure that that's on there. But let's talk about what's happening today. I'm watching these markets right now. It is about 11:45 here in California. Markets across the board down. Dow Jones down about 500 points right now. And I just watched an interview with Larry Gundlach, the businessman and billionaire. And he said that this cocktail of 0% interest rates, all this QE, has caused serious problems. And this really has created this party where we had this utopia where people thought this was never going to end, that the Fed was their friend, and that the music was going to go on forever. And now the music is beginning to end. And Larry Gundlach says he doesn't see a bottom yet. And he says signs of trouble in the credit market coming. He sees carnage in emerging markets. Bitcoin is NASDAQ on leverage. So just a couple of highlights there from Jeff Gundlach. But as I'm watching the carnage take place and continue today, you know, this mental health of the average American, the consumer today, where now they feel wealthy because the price of their home went up, their 401k went up, the price of Bitcoin went up. Well, all this dependency now in the homes and the 401k and the Bitcoin to feel wealthy, to feel rich, is being absolutely pulverized. And we have to come to the realization that home prices, the 401ks, the cryptos, all this was and is dependent on cheap money. And this use of people's homes as ATMs, all coming to an end. It's all about to come down. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to happen tomorrow or next week or even next month. This process has been a very slow process, but it is beginning to accelerate. It took a long time to get here. It's going to take a much quicker route going down, though. And people that have been using their homes as ATMs, people who thought they were rich because Bitcoin went to about 70,000, people looking at their 401ks every day, all this depended on cheap money. The cheap money, the easy money coming to an end. And what are these people going to do when they begin to lose equity? People have been absolutely pulverized in the crypto market. Look at your 401k today. Do you feel the same way you did 6 months ago? And all this debt that we've acquired, people believing that, there are free lunches out there, believing that all this was natural and not because of artificial injections of trillions and trillions of dollars. And nobody wants to talk about the massive debt we've acquired because of all of these injections. The amount to service this debt now going up every time the Fed raises rates. It's going to be passed on to you, the consumer. And we have to come to the realization that we must see interest rates at 15% plus in order to get this inflation under control. And in doing so, it will bankrupt the system. It will bankrupt businesses. It will be a nightmare But if we don't do it, if the Fed doesn't step up, we're going to see a nightmare of hyperinflation. So pick your poison, ladies and gentlemen. Either way we go now is going to be a very turbulent, chaotic direction. Easy money and government spending has led to all this, yet we don't hear about the stoppage or the slowdown of spending, do we? That would probably be a step in the right direction. Me personally, I believe that we need to be hearing about new factories being built, new manufacturing being built right here in America, producing and manufacturing goods and products. I think it's time to give the American taxpayer a break, and we need to hear about the slowing down of spending. This country has an addiction to spending, and it must come to a quick end now. Give people a tax break. Start building factories in America. This is the only way we get out of this mess. We are heading into a depression, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be a global depression, but China will win this because they are producing and manufacturing literally everything in the world. We cannot just sit here and not produce and have a dependency on the government to fix everything and to pay for everything. 70% of our GDP is consumption. We are not going to get out of this depression unless we begin making things. And I think it's maybe too late. And I think this is where China takes over. And China knows that the whole globe is going into a depression, including themselves. But they will rise out of this depression because they manufacture. They have 20+ thousand tons of gold. They have a newer, more advanced infrastructure. We are aging, we are crumbling, we are not producing, we are just consuming. Big problems. CNBC today, cryptocurrency Luna now almost worthless after controversial stablecoin linked to losses pegged. Wolfstreet.com, Coinbase shares go thudunk, minus 88% from high, might even be lower today. Coinbase reported a loss of, get this, $429.7 million for the first quarter of 2022. CNBC, more than $200 billion erased from entire crypto market in a day as sell-off intensifies. It's even worse today. Cryptos, Bitcoin was up earlier today, now back down. $600 billion has been erased over the past week. Gonna get worse. Another one on CNBC. Bitcoin is coming to 401k plans, but not your target date fund. Who would feel safe relying on this now with the volatility that we have seen? Bitcoin now trading with the NASDAQ. I don't know. I guess people out there are real gamblers, but to think that this is coming to your 401k, that people feel safe with this, your money's not even safe in a 401k, let alone adding Bitcoin to a 401k. Wall Street Journal. From California to Texas to Indiana, electric grid operators are warning that power generating capacity is struggling to keep up with demand. Expect rolling blackouts during heat waves. Electricity shortages are coming. The question is, are you ready? I think my power got cut off about 4 times last summer. It'll probably be more this summer. But if you're using cryptos, what are you going to do if the power goes out? What would you do? What if the power went out for a week, 2 weeks, grid goes down, whatever the case may be? You are subservient to the system. No power, no money. No power, no purchase. And that really brings up and raises new questions to the vulnerability of having everything on a computer screen. How vulnerable are you that if the power gets shut off, if the grid goes down, if things got hacked, and the internet went down, what would people do? How, so many people now are dependent on electronic money or cryptos. What would they do? This is why I think it's so imperative to be very diversified. I'm not telling anybody what to do or not to buy cryptos or whatnot, but you must have money and assets put somewhere that are physical, because if the power goes down, you're a sitting duck. Wholesale inflation rose 11% in April as producer prices keep accelerating. This is being passed on to you and I. We're going to continue to see inflation roaring out of control. I mean, think about that. Wholesale inflation, this is PPI, 11% in April. Unbelievable. People just cannot catch a break as they're watching their savings being destroyed by inflation. They're watching a buzzsaw being taken to their 401ks, and soon they're going to watch their equity in their homes being absolutely erased. National gas price per gallon right now today, $4.41, all-time high. Diesel, also at an all-time high. Those locomotives, those big cargo ships, those semis all rely on diesel. This is going to be passed on to you. These high diesel prices means to ship products to the store is going to cost more money, being passed on to you and I, adding to more rampant inflation. The hedge today, the growing list of U.S. companies laying people off. We're going to see, I believe, within the next year, a flood of layoffs. And unfortunately, it won't be in the government sector. It'll be in the private sector. And what we need to see, we really should see more government jobs cut. We need to see the layoffs in the government sector. Layoffs are now sweeping businesses, according to this article, and most of the government payroll is simply a burden on the productive sectors of this economy. But it won't be those jobs. It'll be the private sector. And unfortunately, a lot of Americans are going to be blindsided here. They're not going to know what hit them as layoffs increase across the country. Jobless claims. We got the jobless claim number today, 203,000. Now, this is a 3-month high. We have roughly 100 million people not in the labor force. It's just unbelievable what is going on. GameStop halted multiple times as it explodes higher. Very interesting. Let me know your comments on this. When somebody's winning at the craps table, they change the dice on you. Isn't that funny? There's no doubt that these markets are fully rigged at this point. That's not a theory, that is a fact. And why is anybody participating in this knowing that it's a rigged system? The best thing you can do, in my humble opinion, is get out of the system, detach as much as you can. If you're in these markets, get your money out. That's not financial advice, that's just common sense. Get your money out. Walk away from this poker table while you can. Look, the market could go up 1,000 points tomorrow. Who cares? The system is rigged. It's coming down. Heaven forbid we got a 75 basis point rate hike. It would be game over. But even at 50, look at the damage. I talked about this weeks ago. Start raising rates 50 basis points, and you're going to see how strong the economy is and how strong this fake stock market is. And you know what? We're beginning to see just how fake and how weak and how vulnerable this economy and these markets really are. You know why? Because these markets are built, a house of cards built on quicksand, and now people are going to come to the realization that it is all fake. It was all hopped up on artificial money, 0% interest rates, and people on the television just flooding you with all this FOMO. You know, it was so trendy to get into these markets and into all these cryptos and to take all that stimulus money that people were being given and all the unemployment money and to gamble it into these markets. And people just didn't realize how fake these markets are. And they didn't realize that they could lose. They could lose. And how many people did cash out refis to buy into these markets, into these Ponzi schemes, now absolutely obliterated? And guess what? We got a long way to go down. Look, it's going to go up, but it's going to continue to go down. The hedge today, the crypto collapse, what you need to know. And somebody commented on this article and made a couple of really good points that I'll reiterate here. Cryptos are not an inflation hedge. Cryptos are correlated with stocks, not commodities. Cryptos have higher expenses than stocks. Cryptos are not anonymous. Governments can regulate and tax cryptos. Cryptos are very complicated. One misstep and it will cost you everything. And cryptos are continuing to evolve. Look, is the blockchain technology real? Absolutely. Is it going to be here for a very, very long time? Absolutely. Could a couple cryptos survive? Possibly. But are they going to be allowed to survive? Is the government or governments, central banks across the globe going to allow them? Or are they going to come up with their own type of crypto? A good article I was reading last night on The Hedge, it's titled The 6 Most Common Financial Myths People Believe. And I won't go over all of them, but the biggest myth is that inflation is reflected in the CPI. It says that those making financial decisions have masked their failings. This is done by heavily skewing the CPI to give the impression there is little inflation. And so as much as they're masking it and manipulating it right now, we're at 8.3%, we all know that it's well over 15, closer to 20% real inflation. Believing myths will impact your lives, ladies and gentlemen, and that is why it is important to recognize them for what they are. They are lies. Make good and reasonable decisions and choices right now. It is so important. It's so important to really be an independent thinker, to open your mind, to open your eyes to what is really happening in this economy. And I was reading another article, and I apologize about the noise here, guys, with the hose over here. But we don't talk much about seniors, the senior citizens, and what inflation is doing, how it's affecting their health, their comfort, and their standard of living. But these rising costs, if you're living on a limited income, like a senior citizen, this is really affecting you. It's affecting everybody. Let's face it, unless you're ultra rich and you've benefited from all this free, easy money, you're really being affected, whether you're poor, middle class, a senior citizen, you have a limited income, you're really being affected here. And watching what's happening right now, I don't know where the markets will end up today, but as I make this video, Dow Jones down about 500 points. Everything is getting hammered. But it is really becoming a scary time. And a lot of people who are on a limited budget, which is most people, they are really feeling the pain. Every time they go to the gas station, the grocery store, you have to go to an urgent care, you got to go to the dentist, you got to go to the Walmart, wherever. People are really feeling it here. And there is no good news, unfortunately. There is no light at the end of the tunnel here. I don't see it. We're going to see more continued volatility. And again, the market could go up tomorrow 1,000 points. Does it really matter? If the market went up 1,000 points today, is it really going to affect your life? No, because we still have shortages. We still have a food crisis. We still have raging inflation out of control. We don't even really know how bad it is because the way the numbers are manipulated. We don't really know how many people are out of work. We don't know the real rate of inflation. We can kind of estimate where it is right now. The numbers are extremely unhealthy. And this is why I've been talking about the last couple years, the importance of being self-sufficient, getting out of the system as much as you can, and really being a critical thinker here. This is a chess match, not a checkers game, ladies and gentlemen. And too many people have been playing checkers and playing games over the last couple years. And now the roosters are coming home to roost, and people are drowning in debt at the worst possible time. At least if you have a lot of debt and the economy's good, you can work your way out of debt. But we're going to begin to see layoffs, and people are going to have a much harder time finding a good job. And they're going to continue to take on a lot of debt, as they're doing with credit cards now, to pay for the essentials, to pay for food, to pay for rent, to pay for emergencies. And as we're approaching about 70% of people in this country living paycheck to paycheck, one flat tire is big trouble for 70% of this country right now. A trip to the urgent care to get your kid 20 stitches because he fell down and cut his knee, that is big trouble for 70% of this country right now. Most of this country is not prepared for what is coming. And this is just beginning. People are loaded with debt. People have not been preparing with food and water, having a cash reserve put away. And I think right now it's important to have cash, even though it is being affected by inflation. I still think that you need to have cash put away right now. And we're seeing the dollar continuing to go up a bit. And remember, it's going up because every other currency is a sick dog. And so we have the least sickest puppy in the litter here, the US dollar. But it is still on borrowed time. But it is important to have some cash right now. I think even more important to have gold, have silver for barterability. Most important, having security. And right behind that, making sure you have food and water. Heaven help us. If we see this diesel crisis, this diesel shortage get worse, and deliveries begin to become limited at the grocery store, that's going to be very, very big trouble. Is that possible? Absolutely. Anything now in 2022 is possible, as I believe we are in the beginning of a depression. And clearly, it is going to get much worse. I'm going to leave it there today. We'll see how the markets finish up. The best advice I can give you today is take a few minutes, go get some extra food, work on your skill sets, put some cash away, make some sacrifices. Many of you have been making sacrifices over the last couple years, and God bless you for doing it. I see so many people now so thankful that they took the time, that they made the sacrifice, paid off their debts, got an extra side hustle, put some gold and silver away. Look, everything's getting creamed right now, but when I look at gold today, it's still up about 1.4% for the year versus everything else being absolutely slaughtered. It's going to get worse, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to get much worse. Think about right now, if you or a spouse lost a job, what would you do? You need to have a cash reserve put away. Think about if the power went out. Do you have enough food and water if the power went out for a week or two? I think now it's mandatory that everybody have enough food and water for 90 days. I used to say 30. People began getting angry at me for saying 30. I think minimally now it's 90 days. If you can't do 90 days, do 30. Go get some extra canned food, some extra bottled water. If you have the means, get emergency food, has a shelf life of 20, 25 years. Go get some of that. But don't be one of these people believing that the Fed is going to save you, that things are going to get better because they're just going to get better. Take a look at the data. Take a look at what's going on. There is nothing telling you or I that this is going to get better. Yes, the Fed could reverse course and start pumping trillions of dollars back into the economy. But what does that mean for the US dollar? It means you're going to see hyperinflation. That will be the end of the US dollar. And that is why you must have some gold and silver put away. Because if they do reverse course, on the chance that they do, they are going to create a massive inflation monster here. And you can kiss the dollar goodbye. And this is why you must have gold and silver. Pray to God you never have to use your gold or your silver. Because if you do, we're at a point of no return. And it's going to be a very, very dangerous time and a very dangerous place if you begin to see gold breaking $5,000 and silver breaking 50 or 100. You know we're going to be in a very, very dangerous period here in our history. God bless you all. Thanks for watching. Share this video. Give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe. Hit that bell notification. And I look forward to talking with all of you very, very soon.